Welcome back to another episode of Empower You podcast. I am your host, Michael Abney. Thank you so much for joining us today. So we put a little spotlight on living life a little bit more conscious. We're here to share some insightful stories, hear about people's journey, and hopefully inspires and empowers you to live your best life and do it just a little bit more consciously. So are you guys ready to power up? Because I am, and I'm ready to introduce our guest for today. Her name is Erin Mann, and on her submission form, the first line was, going from FBI to stay-at-home mom. And I'm like, okay, I'm hooked. I don't even care what this is about. And then has something to the elderberries was definitely another. So I want to know how all of this stuff connects. I want to kind of get your story about your jumping off point. Like you were just living life as an FBI? Like what? Huh? Like, tell me more about this. Thank you for being here too. Like, appreciate it.
Well, no, I was going to say, first off, thanks for having me.
Yeah,
I always
absolutely.
love doing things like this. But yeah, so I had a mom and a dad who were both in the FBI. My mom quit as soon as I was born to be a stay-at-home mom so that my dad could, kind of climb the ladder within the Bureau and travel the world and, save America, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to grow up in a family where I saw, my dad getting to go travel and do all these amazing, awesome things. Like he got to work some really cool cases when I was growing up. And I also got to see the other side of it with my mom staying home and kind of supporting that because she understood what the Bureau life was like. But she wanted to make sure that I, as a young lady, had a good upbringing as well. And so I never really knew anything else other than the Bureau. Law enforcement was kind of always my jam. I, loved the spooky, serial killer style movies because I always knew who did it like 3 minutes into the movie, right? And my nickname in high school was Clarice because I always wear my hair, kind of just straight as a board because I didn't know how to curl it. I have very fair white skin. So I was just kind of, I don't want to say pegged into this like spot, but it's kind of all I ever knew. I didn't want to be a vet. I didn't want to be a doctor. I only knew I was going to work for the FBI. And I kind of lived my lifestyle that way. Like I didn't get in trouble. I didn't do drugs in high school or college. I kind of set myself up to be successful for entry into that. And I graduated college, immediately applied. I was still a little bit too young, but I knew that it takes a while for them to do your background check, do your interviews. So I got my master's while I was waiting in criminology.
Wow.
And worked as a bailiff, just to learn and to have that work experience to put on my resume. So when I was 22, I went into the Bureau. I did a lot of undercover work, but then I also did counterintelligence, counterterrorism as an intel analyst. So I myself got to travel the world and work on all of these amazing cases. And it was just so much fun. Like sometimes you're like, I can't believe I'm getting paid to do this. Like I would pay someone to get to do this. And other days you just slap your head on your desk, so.
I have to ask you right now, like, so do your personality is amazing. So I love it. It's like very enjoyable. But that does not go with like what my mind says that your profession is about, right? Were you like that? Because I would have never pegged you, like never in a million years, which is probably really good, right?
Yeah, and that's what made me really good at my job. It's really good to kind of blend into situations and environments. But also, what you see in the movies or what you see in the media isn't always exactly, obviously, how life really is. And I feel like, especially in the media, they always take the most well-known stereotypical personality traits of agents or anyone in the Bureau and put that into everyone's character for every FBI personnel in every movie made, right? So I'm not saying there aren't some like that, but that doesn't mean that they aren't still great people, and have amazing families and all of that. But my dad is kind of the same way I am. We're very outgoing. We're very personable. We're just normal people, I guess.
Well, I would imagine people want to spill their guts too, like because you're.
Yeah, people find
before
it very
you even
easy
knew what
to
was
talk to
happening,
me.
right? It's like you totally confessed to everything. I'm making that up.
Yeah,
Anyway, I'm having fun. I love it.
But yeah, so I was never the one that wanted to get married, have kids. I was like, I'm gonna live and die FBI. I mean, I was gonna be director of the FBI by the time I was 35. I just wanted to travel the world, do awesome things, and you know, just help protect this country. And that's what I did for 15 years. I ended up getting my PhD while I was in the Bureau as well. And then I ended up getting transferred to Washington, D.C. And then I met my husband. And
Okay.
things just happen. It's kind of one of those, for whatever reason, I met my husband right after the earthquake that happened in DC many years ago. And I was like, maybe I could like settle down. My mom and dad both did it. My dad was gone all of the time. And like, I have an amazing relationship with my dad. Granted, he was gone 6 to 9 months out of the time when I was younger, but he is and has always been my best friend. So I wasn't necessarily worried about that type of, oh, I don't want to do to my kids what my parents did to me. No, I have a fantastic family. I hit the family jackpot. But I just wanted to be able to go and do how I wanted to and not have to worry about it. But when I met my husband, Craig, things just change and you're like, okay, this is doable. I can do this. Not really what I saw happening for myself, but that's okay. We can change as we go. As we get older, we don't have to be stuck in, one thing that we envision for ourselves. So we got married in 2013, and then we decided we wanted to have a family. And kind of all throughout the process, I wasn't really thinking about leaving the Bureau. I was still, I want to travel, I want to do this, I want to do that. And when it became difficult, I don't want to get into too much, detail, but when it's difficult if you're traveling all the time to find time to make a family, you get where I'm going? Get where I'm going with this? You need time.
I get what you're going.
To have a family.
I buy what you're selling. Was he in since you met him in DC, was he in how did that relate? Was he in the FBI too? Like, were you?
No. And that's just no, that was like my rule. No dating within, government work.
But the only people that are there are people that, with the government, right? I mean, there's other people that live there, but
yeah, they're with the government, but you also, not that I'm saying that everyone's a bad apple. I am not by any stretch of the imagination, but you see, like I said, some of those stereotypes that you have seen in the movies or in media, and you're like, I don't want to deal with that. You just don't want to even try it. But I met him actually online. One of my friends told me when I moved up here, she was like, oh, you should do online dating because not only will it help you get out and see different parts of DC, because I moved up here from Alabama, so I did not even know my way around. She said, you'll also meet other people and different types of people from all over. And it was a raging nightmare. Like, I could write a book on my experience of dating when I first moved up here from online. And so he was actually the last person I was ever going to go out on a date with. I had pulled up. Yeah. I was like, I'm going to be an old cat lady before I do this for like months or years or however long it would take me, because the dates were just so bad. And I actually got online to cancel my subscription, and because it was Match.com back when it was like super big. I don't know if it is now, but back then it was super big. And I got on to cancel my subscription, and back then you had like your match of the day, and it just caught my eye because there was this guy and his profile picture was him in like a tank top, flip-flops, and he was frying a turkey in the grass. And I'm like, there are 4 things wrong with this picture. Like, you should not be frying a turkey in your flip-flops because that's an emergency room waiting to happen. You shouldn't be doing it over the grass because you're going to burn whoever's house down, you're at. And I was just in one of those, what my mom calls plucky Southern moods, where I was like, I'm off of here anyways. I'm just going to tell you like what I think about you and how stupid your picture is. And he thought I was joking. He thought that was like my icebreaker. And I was like, he legitimately thought I was flirting with him. And so he, was like, oh, because I didn't have on my profile that I work for the FBI and I travel all the time. I just thought I worked in government, that, I was basically a secretary. And he was like, hey, we should like meet up, see if we, have anything in common and everything else. So I thought, what is one more really bad date for my book, because at that point I was pretty much said I was going to write a book about this. So I thought, fine, one more. And we met, and the rest was history. He's like the most normal person I had ever met pretty much in my entire life. And a lot of my girlfriends were like, he's probably a serial killer. We're just going to find out like 45 years later. There's something wrong with him. We just don't know what it is. But he was fabulous. He was respectful. He was kind. He actually knows, he's handy. He knows how to do things. I went out on a guy that couldn't even hang a picture on the wall. And I was like, oh, I come from a DIY family. I can't know you.
Yeah.
One of the dates I went on, he asked me if I would ever move to a non-extradition country. This was before he knew I worked for the FBI. So I was like,
red flag.
I'm going to take a taxi home. Yeah, exactly. I was like, oh, look at that. My cat's calling. I got to go home. So it was just one bad thing after another. But yeah, we kept dating, obviously. And 3 years later, we got married. And then, like I said, we decided to have a family. And up until that point, I was, like I said, I was planning on continuing my work with the Bureau. But we had some trials and tribulations along the way. I actually almost lost my life with an ectopic pregnancy that ruptured. And thankfully, I was close enough to a hospital that they got me into surgery on time. And right after that, we ended up having our Lucas, our son that we have now. We have lost several others after him. So he is like our miracle baby. Like, we are meant to have this child that is right in front of us. But once I had him, I think because of everything we went through to get to that point, I was like, nope, I'm not going back to work. I told my husband, I said, I've spent my life either supporting my dad or my mom, protecting others. I have spent my career time doing the same, protecting American families and making sure that, another 9/11 never happens again. And I think it's time I get to be a little selfish and stay home and protect my family. And that's what I did. So after that, I became a stay-at-home mom.
Were you an FBI agent during 9/11?
No, I was actually still in grad school.
Okay.
Yeah. So, or not grad school, undergrad. It was my last year. But my dad was actually taking a new agents class through the academy at Quantico. He was an agent, but he was a counselor for that class. So they bring in TDY people to do that. And the week before, we had come up for their graduation. So Director Mueller had just, kind of taken over at that point, and it was his first graduation with a new agents class. So we went, we got to meet him and all of that. And 2 days later, like, my mom and I flew home the night before 9/11 happened. So I got home, went to bed, woke up to the news. So my mom and I had no idea, what was going on, like at Quantico, like with my dad. It was a very scary and weird thing, because her and I had never really experienced that when he was gone before. So just something that big happening was very interesting at the time.
Just curious, it was such a turning point for so many people, and your tie and your background. I just was interested. That was like the very first time I ever heard my guides talk to me that loud, that, because they were like, this is why you came here, was for whatever was to unfold after. That seems so crazy. That's been 22 years ago, but like,
oh, I know. I'm like, I'm not old enough for that to be long ago, but I think it was a turning point for me in as much as what I wanted to do in the Bureau, because my dad worked all criminal cases. So he worked like the Unabomber case. He worked the Oklahoma City bombing. He first got into counterterrorism with the embassy bombings in Kenya and Tanzania. So that was kind of the first time I really learned about Osama bin Laden and about, all of that. And when 9/11 happened, I kind of told my dad, I said, a shift is coming, like a huge shift is going to happen for not only, our counterintelligence mission overseas, but also how we as a law enforcement agency operate here. And, I said, I want to be a part of that. I want to make sure that this does not happen, because I feel like in my dad's time, he really was more focused on like domestic terrorism, because that's who he was, everyone, blew up, the Atlanta city bombing and, all of that. He was kind of focused on that domestic terrorism kind of path or issues that we dealt with for so long. And then this kind of international started, and that's kind of where I came in. And I said, I think this is where I am supposed to be. And, I went into the Bureau specifically for that, to be trained in that, to learn that, to, operate those types of cases. And that's what I did for 15 years.
When did you leave?
2015, when
2015.
or actually 2016. So my son was born in 2015, and then I took as much maternity leave I had built up. I took as much annual leave as I had built up, because it still counted towards my retirement. So I kind of, played the system a little bit as far as like my leave and stuff like that. But I was no longer active really in cases after my son was born. So
before we go into your shift, I just have to ask, because of the climates today, and literally half the freaking countries has all of these, bullshit ideas that they how do you deal with that because you have a passion for it, and thank you for your service, because it's a service. Sure. Thank you for your service. And how does that affect you now that you can, I'm sure you hold a larger picture that you can see, how this is being played out, from a 30,000 feet view, but what's your feeling? What's your heart say about that?
I mean, I'll be honest, my heart's sad. It's sad a lot of the time when I hear stuff like that. Obviously, I don't know what I knew when I was in the Bureau, right? When you're in the weeds of it all. But I do know how to root through and listen for the BS in the media, because, and you don't really figure that out until you're actually in it, because working some of the cases that I have worked and then seeing how they're portrayed on the media, because what I did, people never knew about. If you saw me on TV, there was an issue. I should, I'm not the one that should be seen. I'm in the background. You should never see me. So the faces that are, up front, and the things, the source reporting, or, we heard from a confidential source from a news media outlet or something, you listen to that, and you had literally been, sitting somewhere where 48 hours prior what is actually going on. And you really understand, one, how they can tweak it and why they tweak it. So it's not so much they're just blatantly lying for, no reason. You can actually see what they're setting things up for. And to me, that was the scariest part. And so oftentimes when I was in the Bureau, I didn't watch the news, I read the news. So that, and that was kind of always required of us anyways, or expected of you. You spent hours making sure you read through the news, kept yourself, abreast of what's going on, in the world. But then you also had to take it with a grain of salt, right? Yeah. So now when I hear it, I make myself remember, okay, that is not exactly how it is. And, even some stuff that I worked on, let's say I've been out of the Bureau almost 8 years now, is now just coming to the forefront of some of the media. And I'm like, nope. And I'm like, they're still doing it, kind of a thing. So, I kind of just remind myself, it is not what you hear. There is truth in everything, obviously. And, just like when I was in the Bureau, I'm like, there's truth here, there's a story here, or a story here, and the truth lies somewhere over here. And you kind of have to figure out what's going on, or what story is trying to be portrayed, to figure out which direction the actual truth leans towards. So it does hurt my heart, especially with a lot of stuff that has been going on, because I grew up in an era where the Bureau was respected, feared a little bit, but respected, and was respected all across the globe. And I feel like we live in a society today where it's just it's just dive bombed. And, it hurts my heart, because I still have a lot of friends and coworkers that are still there.
Their heart.
And I know them. Yes, it's not oh, I don't know you. Oh yeah, everybody that works in the FBI is great and golden and pure as gold. No, I mean, there's bad apples in everything. Right? But for those that are still there, that people are talking about specific units or specific offices, and I know those people. I'm like, if you guys only knew, you would not. But I can't tell them why they should only know, right? I have to keep that. And the ability for, I didn't live through that time where it's so hard to be in the Bureau. I champion those people like even more for being able to stay and not be like, never mind, almost like bullied out, if that makes sense. Like feeling just bullied by
Yeah.
just general America. I like really praise them for having the strength to stay and do things right, to where those that could be doing things wrong don't take over, don't like become the masses.
Yeah.
So
Thank you for
sorry, that was
sharing
like
that. I
very
think,
long-winded, but
no, it's important. It's important because
yeah.
it's who you are and you're exuding that, and that's what's happening. So it's like, that's part of like why I do want to do this, is have conversations that may be uncomfortable sometimes for folks to listen to, but at least we're like talking about it. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not trying to be controversial or anything like that. I'm just
Yeah.
trying to like, we can talk about anything. We really can talk about anything,
And I love
because
that.
because if
I'm the
we
same way.
don't, we end up pitted, and
Yeah.
like I grew up in the country, and a lot of my family members and stuff like bought into that stuff, but I know their hearts. I know that they don't
Yeah.
mean that, and I know where they're coming from, but I also know that all of us grew up with an enormous amount of fear,
Mm-hmm.
um, of life, and innuendos about, the big Illuminati people out there. Like I remember that
Yeah.
stuff when I was a kid. Like people think that's new. I spent 2000. I'm going to tell on myself, but like I went down that rabbit hole
Yeah.
maybe twice. Like there were some things on September 11th that I couldn't see. But I'm like, now I look back and I'm like, oh my God, like
Yeah.
what did I buy into this, or like where was I at in that time? And I remember like in 2008, before President Obama became President Obama, like I remember like that was a year that all the stuff was like the crescendo from all of the stuff from 2000 or 2001. All of that stuff really, it's like it is now, but like 15 times worse now than it was then.
Yes.
But I remember that going down all of those things, and like it was feeding something that was already inside of me, and I didn't have the perspective that I do now to know, that everything here on this planet is energy. Everything is energy. And we are the only ones here, unless there's something I don't know about, that are creating that energy. Like there's nobody else except for just us. But we all walk around like there's a big boogeyman out there and we don't have any control over. But is it?
Right.
No, it's not. So just talking about it, like having a bell go off for somebody, like whatever that thing is. Like, so for me, I've had all of these different spaces. Sounds like you do too, where it was like 2014 is when I had another one, when I was, I was diagnosed with HIV then, and like having like, that being a death sentence, and well, it is not now, but like I came out when I was 1984, when it was, so energetically, I ran from that my entire life. And then to be like, I was in fear of that for all of those years. And then the minute that I found out that it happened, then in a sense, I was free, because I wasn't running from it anymore. But that literally was the spark. Like I wouldn't be alive if that hadn't happened, because I wasn't taking care of myself. I wasn't like healthy. I wasn't, smoking. Like there was just like nothing about my life was healthy. I became a healthy person after I, and I had lupus too, like after that. Like, so when somebody tells you dying, like it shifts you. And so like having your experiences, and you're having your experiences where, you're having the, difficulty in bringing life into the world. That's a struggle. And then you have this, and then you leave the bureau. So what's this last, like your last iteration of yourself?
You're like, how does this even connect?
How does this connect to elderberries? Please tell me.
$1 million question. No, so like I said, Lucas is, because, I tell people, I'm like, considering what I thought my life was going to be like and how I had roadmapped my life when I was younger, if I was, standing on a street corner in Paris and someone would have walked up to me and said, I'm from the future and you are going to be an elderberry manufacturer in your early or late 30s, I would be like, and walk
So
away,
you
or I punch
manufacture
them in the face.
elderberries?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I make a lot of things. So,
Okay.
okay, this is how it happened. I became a stay-at-home mom with my little blob of a son,
Yeah.
our little miracle baby, Lucas. When he was 1, I was doing like any typical Southern mama does and planning like the biggest barbecue bash for his first birthday party. We were planning a trip back home to Alabama, and my husband's family is in Florida. So we were kind of stopping in Florida, then going back to Alabama, and then driving back to DC. So we had this huge, big family party planned. So we packed up, went to Florida, and Lucas popped a fever on our first night there. And of course, I immediately called the pediatrician because he had never had a fever before. Up until that point, the kid was just healthy as a horse. And they were like, okay, just monitor. If he seems super cranky, give him a little Tylenol. Don't let the fever get above, this. Just keep in contact with us. So it was 5 days straight of us in Florida and him with a fever. And my husband actually took me, my birthday's on July 29th. So my husband took me out for dinner for that. And my in-laws, watched Lucas, and they called us on our way home and was like, hey, his fever's like getting even higher. So I ended up calling the on-call pediatrician here up in Virginia, and they said, it has been almost now 6 days. Like, just take him to an urgent care or an emergency room. Just go ahead and go. So my husband and I, we took off our date clothes and put on our cozy clothes and, packed some snacks because we figured we'd be there for a while, and went to the local emergency room. And CliffsNotes version, by 4 a.m. that next morning, we were being admitted onto the oncology floor of a children's hospital 2 hours away. We rode by ambulance, and basically all of the testing that they did when we went to the emergency room, at first they thought he had a bacterial infection, so they were admitting him to the hospital there. But before they could even get him settled, the actual doctor came in with her pajama pants on, her scrub top, and her doctor's coat. And I knew as soon as I saw her, this isn't normal. This, like, something is wrong. So they said, looking at his blood results, we are 99% sure your child has leukemia. And I about died. I mean, it's 8 years later. Look, I still tear up. But two, I was sitting there actually pumping breast milk to feed my child, like when she told me this, and I'm just like, wait, what? So they put us in an ambulance, took us to a children's hospital. The oncologist was actually waiting in his room when we got there, because at 11:49 that morning, he would turn 1. And they had to diagnose him before he turned 1, because at that time, the protocols for treatment for 365 days and older was one thing, and under 365 days was another. So if they could diagnose him before he actually legally turned 1, he could have the under 1 treatment protocol, which they said had a higher success rate, was easier, on their bodies. And so, I mean, we were like my husband and I were both like signing papers. I don't even know what we signed. We could have been giving them our house, but we were just signing papers so they could basically wheel him back. And they put him to sleep and did a bone marrow tap on his hip. And they said, they basically like flew it to Mayo Clinic to get it, expedited for the testing. But what's funny is that when we were walking into that hospital in Florida, I'm a big Alabama football fan, totally random factoid about me. But I saw an Alabama football balloon when we were walking in. And something about that told me, like, I think you're going to be okay. I don't know why. And so when we met our oncologist, he actually just moved from UAB, which is the University of Alabama at Birmingham. And he's a renowned children's oncologist. And so he knew kind of where I was from, knew like my hometown. I felt very comfortable like with him. So when he, and it was a very, I think Lucas was in there for like 2 hours, but it seemed like 17 hours. And he came and he got us, and he was like, listen, I just want to let you know, one of the papers that you signed was for me to take some extra bone marrow so I could look at it myself. And he said, not all that he does, but he does so many of these surgeries and tests that he is like, I can, look at it in the microscope, kind of give a little bit an idea of what's going on. And he looked at us and he said, I am 1000% sure that your son does not have leukemia. He said, I would bet my own life on it that result's going to come back totally fine. And he's like, so I think you need to know right now. You don't need to wait 2.5 hours. You need to know right now that your son is okay. We don't know what he has. We don't know what's going on, but he does not have leukemia. And I just, for it to be his first birthday, it was also the best birthday present I could ever have for him. We were just so thankful and so happy. He ended up having a virus that mimics leukemia in the blood. And the oncologist actually told us that had he gone to his little birthday party and been around so many other people, he could have contracted a bacteria or another virus that would have actually killed him, because he had 0 neutrophils, no white blood cells. Like, a fly could land on him and would give him a disease of some kind. So the fact that we ended up in the hospital was actually a blessing in disguise, because it actually kept our baby safe. So we were there for another week. My parents ended up driving down, from Alabama. My mom brought all the cupcakes she had ordered from the bakery, and we gave them out to the nurses, to the other kids that could have them, on the floor. But yeah, we were there for a week until he was healthy enough to be discharged, and we came home. After that, the kid just stayed sick. Cold after cold. He was just sick all the time. He would run a fever. He'd get better. He was in preschool when he turned 2. And he would be in there for 2 days, come home sick, have a fever for a week, and get better. We'd send him back, and it was just this constant, cycle of sick. And I remember telling my husband, I said, I killed myself breastfeeding, because the research shows that if you do that up to a year, your child is supposed to be healthier. And I'm like, no, that was not true. But he ended up having some lung issues and some breathing problems. So he was on 2 inhalers a day. One that would give him a horrible rash on his mouth, the other that made him have night terrors. So that was awful for 2 years of age. And I was just kind of at my wit's end. We were seeing 2 specialists. We were also seeing allergists. And we finally one day I took him to a checkup, and I said, listen, you keep telling me my son's lungs are weak. What can I do? I'm a stay-at-home mom. I am a smart woman. Tell me what to do to help this child. If it's physical therapy 24 hours a day, I will do it. I can go without sleep. I've done it for the last 2 years of my life. I'm pretty good at it. And I was like, just tell me what to do. And he looked at me and he's like, there's nothing you can do. We just have to wait it out till he's 5. Because at 5, they could diagnose him with asthma. And I'm like, what? That's
such
3
bullshit.
Years from now.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my God, so much.
And that whole day, one day, what the hell's one day make a difference of seriously?
Yeah. Yes.
And they're supposed to be intelligent.
Amen. Yeah. So I don't know why. For some reason, that's where that shift happened, because on that particular day, maybe I was just cranky enough that
just Alabama enough.
Yeah. That I was like, that is unacceptable. No. And I put my child in the car, brought him home, put him down for a nap. And this, like the Facebook meme of like Jim Carrey doing like this. That was me. I was fired up, and I was like, I am going to fix this. I don't know how. I don't know when. I am done. I am going to do this for my child. This is my job. This is going to happen. And I just started reading every piece of research I could get my hands onto, because like I said, master's, PhD. I like the scientific, peer-reviewed. I'm very good at weeding through the BS online. I just, was, looking for immunity, boosting lungs, muscles, because in my, non-medical opinion, the lung is a muscle. I'd always been taught, like when I was an athlete, if a muscle is weak, you can work to make it stronger. So why can't we work to make a lung stronger in some form or fashion? So I was Googling lungs, herbs, strength, just all kinds of things. And I started running across the word elderberry more times than I wasn't. So I started looking into it, started reading research studies that have been conducted ever since the 1990s on it, and was like, well, this is interesting. And I ran across a couple of other herbs like astragalus and mullein, which is actually known to improve muscle strength, specifically in the lungs, to improve lung function. And I thought, well, they sell elderberry at Walmart or Target. I don't know if you have to bleep that out. They sell it at the leading national retailer. So I was like, I'm going to go buy some, and I'm going to give my son some, because apparently after all of this reading that I have done, this is what I need to try. That isn't chock full of chemicals. I don't need to be giving my child at 2. Let's try it and see what happens. And so I go there, I look at the bottle, and it's like red number this and blue number that, and like other ingredients I couldn't really pronounce. And I was like, oh, come on, man. Like, no. I'm like, I'm not going to do this. So I'm from a German family. My grandmother's farm, my grandma and grandpa's farm, actually had elderberry out the wazoo on it, according to my dad. I don't really remember that, but he's like, oh yeah, elderberry is what we used all of the time. I'm like, Dad, hello, why did you not bring this up to me before? Thanks for that.
You didn't ask.
I know, right? So he dug out my grandma's elderberry syrup recipe, because he's like, you couldn't buy that stuff in stores before, and she just threw a bunch of stuff in, and because he did not actually go to an actual doctor until his physical for when he went into the bureau. And that was at 23 years of age. And he was like, you either got well or you didn't, because we were poor and we couldn't afford to go to the doctor. So, and all of his, siblings survived, but, so they just did, kind of everything at home. And so I got my grandmother's recipe. I made it. My child hated it, like ran away from me, hated it. But I thought, you know what? I can tinker with this. Like, I can make it something that he would like. Like, let me keep researching like ingredients, things that are, that are good that I could add in and kind of work with the ratios. So I read a lot about honey and how that's a good antiviral, antibacterial, natural sweetener that has a lower GI than cane sugar. So I added that in, and lo and behold, he loved it. And after 7 days straight of taking it, he started saying, Mommy, I want my yummy syrup. And he has called it that ever since. That's now on the bottle, on our label, elderberry yummy syrup. But within 6 months of him using that every day, we were released from all of our specialists. No more lung function issues, no more inhalers. He was a perfectly healthy little child. And he's the kid that never misses days from school, which he doesn't like. But, he would go to preschool and he would be just fine. When he goes back to school at the start of the school year, he's the kid that isn't absent 3 days later, because kids, spread their germs and they're not used to it anymore, and they're out sick the first week. So it really transformed our family, and I started sharing that. I created a blog. I created a Facebook group for local moms where we could share information and not feel judged, because there are a lot of mom Facebook groups that are like, oh my gosh, you ate a Snickers? Like, no, or I can't believe you gave your child tree bark, or, something. So it's very health for everyone is very polarized, I feel. And for me, I'm like, listen, I can go on a 5-mile run. I've hiked the Grand Canyon rim to rim 3 times in my life. Like, I'm a healthy person, but I will have a Snickers for breakfast if I want to and not feel bad about it. Like, I'm everything in moderation. Do what makes you happy as long as you're not hurting others. So I created this safe space for moms. And once kind of cold and flu season rolled around that year, I started sharing the elderberry specifically. So I said, hey, this is what we use. If you guys want some, I will make you some. Let me know. Come get it off my doorstep or ring my doorbell. Like, take a cup of it home to your kids and see if you like it. And a lot of people were using elderberry that I didn't realize. Like, I didn't realize a lot more people knew about it. And they started calling me and they said, Erin, oh my gosh, like, yours is amazing. My child actually wants it. He is crying right now because I won't give him more. Whereas the stuff they buy off the shelf, they have to force them. They think of it as medicine. So I wanted to be able to share that with other moms or dads that wanted to use elderberry, but their kids hated the taste of it, because I was becoming known as the kid-friendly elderberry syrup. And my husband was like, oh, you need like a business license. We need some insurance. We need. And I was like, but I just want to help. I just want to share. And he's like, no, first we have to protect, and then we share. So I went through the process of becoming a food business. Oh, no, it very much is. So went through the process of becoming a licensed and legal food business in the state of Virginia, and Erin's Elderberries was born. People are like, "Oh, that's so cute, play on, the E and the E," and I'm like, "Not really," because I was literally standing in line at the licensing office. They're like, "What's your business called, honey? You didn't write that in." I'm like, I don't know. So I literally just came up with that thinking, well, I'll think of something cute later and like rename it. I didn't really realize how business actually works. But yeah, it's still that, obviously. But no, I, started selling at my local farmer's market. I told my husband, I said, I want to go to the farmer's market twice a month. You and Lucas will have, your time together, quality time. I can talk to other people about something other than poop or diapers or, something child related. And it'll all be great. And within a month, I had expanded to 3 full-time farmers markets. I had hired other mom friends to help me run my booths. So I would educate them about elderberry and all of that, and they would help me sell. And at that time, I only had 2 products. I sold the honey that I put in my syrup, and I sold the syrup. And now, 4 years later, I have over 20 products that I make everything by hand, that are all elderberry or aronia or honey focused for health. So, yeah, that's the long, short version of it, of how it's connected. So I never set out to be a business. I never set out to own a retail store like I do now. I never set out to be a business mentor, which I am now. And I've actually just launched my second company, which is a commercial rentable kitchen for other small food businesses, because it is something that I have found over the last 4 years of being a food business that our county drastically lacks. Our local food makers do not have an affordable the closest one is about an hour and 20 minutes away, to go and legally make their food items for sale to support their families. So I decided to create that for them.
Because it has to be in a particular environment, correct?
Yes,
To manufacture it.
Yeah, so most we have what's called cottage laws or exemption laws in the United States. So Virginia has exemption law, which basically says like, hey, yeah, you can bake cookies and sell them out of your home. You can bake cakes out of your home. You can, can pickles and jelly and sell that out of your home or at a farmer's market. But what you can't do is you can't sell it online, you can't ship it, and you can't sell it to another store for them to resell, so wholesale. You also can't sell anything or make anything that contains meat that is time or temperature controlled. So you can't make like a cheesecake that you have to stick in the refrigerator. You actually have to go to an inspected kitchen to be able to make and sell that. You can only really make these shelf stable, non-acid foods. So,
which is good.
And a lot of people don't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, oversight is good, especially when it comes to food. It keeps us safe. It keeps us healthier. And there's not dog hair or cat hair, in your food because someone has 17 cats and they're making pot pies. So, it definitely keeps us safe, but they're tricky. They're confusing. And it's also expensive, to be able to do it. And for someone who's just trying to make their dream come true, it's very difficult, to do that. So I, kind of like what you say, when you have that shift over the last 4 years and really the last 2 years, I've really had that shift of, I want to help people do what I have done and make that, because a lot of these, especially women, I talk about moms a lot because I am a mom, right? And I feel that. A lot of these moms that have become stay-at-home moms, but they want to kind of find themselves again, or they want to feel like they're contributing to their family while still being able to be a stay-at-home mom. They don't want to go off and have a career where they work from 8 to 5 every day. They still want to be at home with the children, but they want to feel like they are contributing more than just being at home. And I feel the need or the worth, in that, because I felt that when I left the bureau. I was like, whoa, this is a totally different, feeling. And I want to help other women or moms accomplish that and not put their family in debt in order to start that business that they kind of have a dream for. So,
well, like, that's amazing. But it's also an effect of who you are, like I can completely see problem, solution, and then,
yes.
now all the other parts come that you didn't have any idea that were even there. Because that's like, I love what you said about that moment where you were like the Jim Carrey thing, like you just had the frustration.
Oh yeah.
Because
Yes.
like during the pandemic, I had something like with my skin that I just like took a year and a half to get to the
Oh
bottom
wow.
of it. And
Yeah.
I go through all of this stuff, hospitals, like, COVID, and like trying to get the answer, right?
Oh, I
At
can
the end of
imagine.
the day, I'm like you, I'm sitting there and like they tell me to, I'm with the head of hepatology for like doing all these tests, and she's like, "Oh yeah, everything just looks really good." But I'm sitting there looking at the screen and I can see in
Like,
red flashing letters, "Please tell this man he has stage 4 liver disease, stage 4 fatty liver disease." And I'm like, "What is that?" And she goes, "Oh, that's nothing. Everybody's got that." She goes, "Just go home and eat right and exercise." And I was like, "Sweetie, I've been doing that for
wait,
5 years."
oh
And
my
like,
gosh.
I have like,
Yeah.
because I would get cysts. I would get like,
Hmm.
boy, I would have to go to the hospital. I
Hmm.
got MRSA infections all the time. I would go
Oh
in.
wow.
It was
Oh
like
my
7 days
gosh.
on like IV drip antibiotics every time it happened. It was happening every month. I couldn't figure it out.
Wow.
And yeah. So I was the same way when she said that. I was like, from the
Mm-mm.
time I had
Mm.
that same energy, I was like, oh, just get me home to. I'm gonna Google
Yeah.
something, and something's like just like that was my energy. Like I
Hmm.
am
Yeah.
done with this shit, and I'm
Yeah.
like, now send it to me now. Like I need to know now. And like
Yeah.
5 minutes later, I am on this guy's website speaking directly to every crazy symptom I've ever had the
Hmm.
past 3 years, all related to fatty liver disease that nobody's talking about. And he had a protocol, which is
Yeah.
basically, getting off sugar. I was a
Hmm.
sugar addict. And like, like I went through that process and I have clean liver now. Like I did the
That's
thing.
awesome. Congratulations. That's
Thanks.
fantastic. But
It's,
yeah,
but
it's
you're
like,
like, you're championing what I'm talking
yeah.
about is that like, we have more control over our health
Hmm.
than we
Yes.
think we do when we
Hmm.
stop, when we get to that hell no spot with like,
Yeah.
I get physicians are helpful. I'm not saying that at all. They're
Right. Oh, yeah.
amazing and
Hmm.
they're godsends, literally. But they don't have the answer to everything. And like when people like get in situations, that's where like energy and life is taken. It's like, hey
Hmm.
guys, look over here. Like, well, look what you did. I remember
Yeah.
elderberries when I grew up on a farm. So like, I remember that. And I
Yeah.
remember people still, it's like a folklore. And, but like,
Yeah. Yep.
I love that you were like, this works. And
Yeah.
like, you did it. Like, so congrats on all of that. That's just like, I believe that that's
Thank you.
kind of where we all kind of get to. It's okay to feel our frustrations. They're there for a reason. They're always there to pop us and evolve us to the next place. It's
Yeah.
just sometimes you got to get to that, like, hell no. But
Oh
even
yeah.
bigger than all of that, my takeaway is that you were in action with it. Because I'm a coach. It's my
Mhm.
passion to help people manifest their dreams and
Okay.
all of this stuff. And
Awesome.
I've been
Yeah.
toying around with the idea of creating, I do high ticket coaching for people
Okay.
because like in the
Hmm.
world, if you're working with somebody, they have to really want it. And,
Hmm.
you have to, it can't just be, I'm going to pretend to, like I'm over half-assing my life and I don't allow it around me. So like people show up in my
Yeah.
space, we're ready to make some stuff happen. So it's like, I
Hmm.
just vibe like that. And
Yeah.
so like hearing you, I just totally relate to that. Like, no matter, like, I'm so excited for what's next for you. Like, do you have, like,
Thank
where
you.
are you at with,
Um,
because I feel this is
everybody's like,
expanding.
yeah, when everybody's like, okay, like what's next? And I'm like, what's next? A nap. A nap is what's next because do you know how long I've been working on this kitchen? Like my dad was actually up here for the last 5 weeks, kind of helping me finish the punch list for this new commercial kitchen. And we had our very first small business use it this past weekend. But I'm like, okay, now I need to breathe for a minute. And I also need to enjoy where I'm at because I have learned over these last 4 years of being a business that things have happened so quickly that everything is great and I have like zero complaints. But for me, I'm like, I need to slow down and actually smile and actually look at that and be like, you did that. Like, you go, girl. Actually, like I have everyone saying, like, oh my gosh, you're so great. I love you so much. Like, your stuff is fantastic. Like, you are awesome. And I'm like, hey, thanks, bye. As I'm running down the hall to my next meeting. So I don't let myself stop or make myself stop and just be like, look at what you have done and where you have gotten yourself to. Now, slow down a smidge, breathe in, breathe out, and then go forth and keep doing awesome things. I kind of did that at the start of this year when we had a little lull in our construction for the kitchen. And I actually really enjoyed kind of how things were going. But then this kind of finishing it out and rolling it out, it was just very busy. But what I would love to see next for myself, because everything has just I have very much followed the organic path that this business has gone on, which I never wanted to be a small business mentor. But when COVID happened and people were looking to create food businesses because they got, laid off from their job, they said, hey, I could make food and sell it. Everybody needs food and I have access to ingredients. They were looking for help on how to do it legally. So people started reaching out to me, because my friends were like, hey, I know this great girl. Like, she will help you. She helps everybody. And, during COVID, between I think 2020 and 2022, I had mentored like 47 small food businesses from all over the US because I would research food laws in that state to help them understand what they were doing, because I want them to be successful and they don't have the time it takes to figure it out. I'm like, okay, this is what this sentence means. This is what you need to do as far as your paperwork and your licensing. Because I didn't have that, and I could have been in business 6 months before I was, if I wasn't doing this, right?
Yeah. And
so
that
I try
6 months is valuable.
It's a lot of time. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And I try to be that person that I needed, when I started. To date, I have mentored 58 small food businesses across the U.S. In helping them start or kind of figure something out. And I do it all for free. I do it as a donation of my time to my community. I don't charge a penny.
No.
I know. And people are telling me that I should turn that into a business. However,
we are going to communicate after this, and I will set you up, because I was already pricing your offer when you were talking. So no, because you've my point being by saying that story is you've inspired me today, because we only do something from desperation or inspiration, and it happens either way. It's just so much better when it's inspiration. So I've been doubting myself. Or should I do this other experience where because I've walked through that experience. It's not easy. I can coach people through the belief systems, because that's really what you got to move out of the way. And so I could smell those things. But that whole thing about what it really takes to get your ass off sugar is extraordinary experience. And I could walk somebody through it's a process called fat adaptation. So my body, my weight has not fluctuated more than 2 pounds in the past 2 years. Literally. I don't eat sugar very much anymore. If I have it, I'll fast even more. But there's a way to maintain it. But to get your body to start burning fuel from carbohydrates to burning it from fat, which is how we're designed, that takes a process called fat adaptation. And it is a crazy ass experience, and you got to buckle down. It's about, my process was 27 days before you do keto till you don't lose weight. And then that space till you do, that's when your body converts. And so walking through that. So I've been debating on whether I should offer experience where I walk people through that. I'm going to do it.
You should. I feel like you and I could be besties, because I'm a certified holistic health and nutrition coach. So I'm like, oh, let's just talk all night.
Well, I could. We've already been on here for an hour, but I love every second of it. We'll continue, because you're totally giving me Reese Witherspoon vibes, which I love.
I love you. Okay, now you are my bestie. Yeah.
You kind of got that little bounce on Sweet Home Alabama. I'll have to watch that over the weekend.
That's one of my favorite movies. Okay, sorry, I digress.
So let's.
But the final thing that I would like for Erin's Elderberries, because my original company was just the elderberry, the aronia, those immunity themed items. And then we became a retail store that we have other small businesses that we talk about and showcase and all of that. I really want we say manufacturing because that's what the state of Virginia says we are. We manufacture food. It's all done by hand, but we're still considered a manufacturer. My goal is to get into a large, premium retail. We do a lot of wholesale across the United States and actually globally. We have retailers in Italy and France.
What store? What store do you want in? Let's play.
Oh,
We can
yeah,
manifest this. What store?
So my
Whole
goal
Foods?
is I either want Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, or Giant. Because Giant is kind of local to this like area.
Pick one.
Tart
Pick one. Just in your mind, pick one.
Whole Foods
Yes,
would
it's
be
Whole Foods.
one.
It is Whole Foods,
Yeah.
by the way. It is Whole Foods.
Okay.
So how many
Yeah.
stores in Whole Foods?
I don't say that's just it. I don't know.
Here's the deal. This will you play with me? Will you
Yeah,
create
no,
with
for
me?
sure.
This is how you manifest. If you're listening, guys, this is how you manifest. So there's so much energy. Like it's just the universe needs your specifics.
Okay.
So it's Whole Foods.
Mm-hmm.
This already happened. It's already in the store. I'm going to show you exactly how to do this, and you're going to practice. This is how this is going to happen.
My little bottle.
Yes.
Okay. Yep.
Okay. How many stores do you want this in? Because they go by regions and they go by sections till they go global, is my understanding. So, because I've had other people that try to get like little oat things in there. But anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
What is how many stores?
I don't even know how many stores they have. How many is in like our
Doesn't
region?
even matter. This is you. How many stores do you? Let's go percentage.
45. Let's say 45.
40. Oh, I love 45. That's a 9.
Because we could legitimately supply 45 stores easily. So because I know a lot of small businesses, the problem is they try to get bigger and they can't supply, and then that's an issue, and then they fail big time. So I would never. While I want to go big, I want to control our growth.
Who's your bestie?
My bestie is actually, other than my husband, my bestie is actually my director of operations now.
Okay, perfect.
We're like family.
So in your mind right now, take a big deep breath. So I want you to imagine yourself walking in that 45th store right now. You're there to cut a ribbon. You're walking in. You see your branding. You see it on the shelf. You turn the corner. You literally see it. Your heart's kind of beating a little bit faster. You're like, oh, shit, I totally did. Oh my God, this is here. This is here. People are literally buying my product. They're sitting here like, I'm signing jars of this elderberry stuff right now. Follow me?
I love it.
Follow me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
This is how you do it.
Hey.
So this already happened. Now I want you to pick up the phone, like imaginary, pick up the phone, and you're calling your bestie. Pick up the battery pack. Yes. You're calling your friends. You're calling your bestie. Yep. I want you to tell her your experience. Get into it of turning that corner and what that feels like. Tell her what that feels like, that you sold out of everything in the store and you're in 45 stores. Like, that's how you manifest. You literally, in your mind, have this conversation with her.
Okay.
That's how you manifest.
All right. And when that 45th store and that ribbon happens, I'm going to fly you over to experience it with us.
I'll be there with my YouTube channel. It'll make the best video ever, because I'm telling you, this podcast is going to do something, because like I love everyone that I've done so far, but this one's really special. Just saying. Just saying. So, what is your big takeaway from today?
My big takeaway from today is, speaking with you, right? Not just my day.
This podcast, this conversation.
That, when we were talking about stereotypes earlier and stuff like that, like before I go on a TV interview or do a magazine interview or a podcast interview, I always do my research. That's just what I do. And I have listened to, some of your podcasts and how you speak to people, and, you talk about stereotypes and all of that. I feel like everyone kind of has the same kind of personality sometimes, like when you're just listening to them before you meet them. And my takeaway from today is that don't always assume the last thing of your day is going to be just another thing. Because this is, you say like, this is one of your favorites. Probably this is one of my favorites too, because your energy is just so great. Your personality just shines through an electronic even. So I can only imagine how awesome and fun and kind you are, like actually in person. And that's my biggest takeaway from today, is just the reminder that the people you randomly get to meet can have such a positive influence on your life in a small way that could potentially be a big way, when you don't even know it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Of
My
course.
takeaway for today is that, like asking for a sign. Just a couple of days ago, I asked for a sign if I should do this thing, even though I already have one in progress that's already happened, but like, should I do this other thing? And like today, like you made that possible. Like that was my sign from the
Good.
universe that
I
this is the time, and I have all the
Good.
pieces. And it's like,
Good.
once you learn the formula to something, it's so easy to, and you have the system for it. It's just so easy to keep expanding and keep evolving, because
I
that's my
love
whole
that.
mission in life, is to help dreamers like me accelerate their evolution, because that's what's happening on the planet. And I know, listening to this, that you guys got like huge value out of today. I know I did. And think about like your story and how it's been, what it showed you, what it's given you, the gifts, even the really crappy parts still have gifts attached. And even when you think it's the worst time ever, in a blink, it could be the best day ever. Like, just
And
hang on, follow that process. Thank
yeah,
you so
don't give
much
up on
for,
your story,
yeah,
you
hell
know,
no. Keep writing
because
that
it's
thing.
even though you think you may know it, you don't. I thought
You
my
don't.
story was written, and not only is every chapter different, it's like every other page, it's like hold my beer, watch this. So I love
Exactly.
when people don't give up, and
Yeah.
keep on going. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, darling. It's been
Thank
amazing, amazing,
you.
amazing. So, guys, enjoy this one. Take this one in. Much love, and we will see you on the next one. Bye, guys.
Bye.